Welcome back. The DOJ has taken Colorado to court, accusing the state of giving illegal immigrants college benefits like in-state tuition, financial aid, scholarships that they say should all be going to American citizens.
All those parents that are sitting at home right now thinking about their kids about to start college, many of them are going to have kids who aren't going to state schools in Colorado because their spots were taken by illegal aliens.
All right, let's bring in constitutional law attorney Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor, to break it down for us. Jonathan, take a listen to this before we get into it. This is from the governor there in Colorado responding to this, Jared Polis. He says, states have the right to determine who to grant in-state tuition to. The federal government seizing control of determining in-state tuition across the country is absurd. In Colorado, we're expanding access to education to provide students with the skills to get good-paying jobs and doubling down on strategies to save students money. Who's right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's a certain truth in the fact that states can spend their money as they wish, and so they can burn as much money as they want on programs, and that includes giving money to people that are in the state who are undocumented. But there is a federal law. It is Section 8. It's 8 USC 1623. This law was passed by under President Clinton. It passed, by the way, by 370 votes to 37. It was very, very popular. It just simply says that you cannot offer this type of in-state benefit to people who are here illegally and deny it to U.S. citizens. Now, the difference here is considerable. It's not just taking slots in the Colorado school system. If you look at the University of Colorado at Boulder, the tuition there is $66,000. With in-state benefits, it goes down to $35,000. So that is over $30,000 difference that the state is essentially eating. That money is, so you're not only losing the slot, you're losing that money. If you look at the School of Mines in Colorado, the tuition there is $71,000 for out-of-state people, but the lower in-state is $46,000. So that difference, again, is being eaten by the state. Now, what the Congress did in 1996 is to say, look, if we have people here who are here illegally, if they're undocumented, they cannot get benefits that are denied to U.S. citizens. Now, courts have upheld that. The Fifth Circuit is the most recent court of appeals to say that's right. It struck down a law much like Colorado's.
You mentioned the states losing out on tuition money from undocumented students who would pay less under the policy. It seems like the DOJ is arguing here as well that it's like a zero-sum situation, meaning every dollar that goes to somebody who is here undocumented is a dollar that is not given to a U.S. citizen student. Is that the right way to look at this?
It is. So there are actually a number of different costs to something like this. That is, one is you have students who are taking those slots. Another is that there is a significant dollar difference, and that reduction in tuition is going to be borne by the taxpayers of Colorado. And Congress sought to avoid those types of disadvantages for U.S. residents who would have to pay the higher amount than people here who are in an undocumented status. Now, this, by the way, this law continues to be enormously popular. Now, Colorado can do a lot of things if it wants to. If it wants to pay that money, it could basically lower tuition across the board, even for people out of state. But it doesn't want to do that. It wants to give the advantage to people there in undocumented status, but not to U.S. citizens outside of the state.
A key distinction there. Jonathan, thanks for breaking it down for us. Good to talk to you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.